Get Bruno in there to give him a team talk, crying again. It's the greatest day of my life. But I don't say Newcastle like Rob. I'll play for Newcastle. And my tab is the manager of Northampton. That's right. But PBG, right. We beat the traffic, here we go. Nothing will happen. That'll be 2 pence less in petrol, because I'll be able to maintain a steady 56 all the way home. And England were winning by like 10 points. We won't miss out. And we walked out. We missed 3 tries. And I remember, Dad, what was the point? We paid so much money, and now we get to save 12 pence on petrol. Well, I stand by my decision. Pointer, there was this one night we were playing Sheffield United, right? I had 10 grand on a scoring first, but I didn't. It was terrible.
Hello, you. Welcome to the very latest episode of Adopted Geordies. I'm Andy Jaye, sat with the captain, Mr. Rob Lee, and I'm delighted to tell you that today is a blow your woes away kind of episode. Yes, we were going to sort of have a little chat about Crystal Palace and the ramifications of that. But however, the body of this episode is going to hopefully be full of laughter, full of joy, and reminding you why you love Newcastle United so much. Because we have a very special guest, a guest who is perfectly qualified to come on Adopted Geordies because, like Rob and I, he wasn't born in Newcastle, yet has the deepest love for the club you could possibly imagine. It is England cricket legend, Mr. Graeme Swann. Graeme, welcome to the show. How are you today?
How are the lads? Thank you for having me on. I'm great. Despite what happened yesterday that I know we're going to talk about in a minute, I'm in fine fettle. Thank you very much.
That's what we like to hear, isn't it?
He's always in fine fettle. I've never seen him miserable, Swanee.
Well, Rob always normally sees
when he loses at goal. When he loses at goal, yeah.
You see, the mad thing is, when I reached out to Graeme on social media, because Graeme had very kindly liked a couple of our posts, I was like, we made friends on Instagram, and I was immediately like, do you want to come on the show? It'd be lovely to have you on the show. Neither of you mentioned that you knew each other. Yeah, I mean, I've gone the long way round when you could have just sent a text. Anyway, that's.
He never replies to text, to be honest.
No, I'm not great on text. I mean, I know Rob.
Peter Beardsley text him. He'll reply to that.
He would. Well, Peter Beardsley likes cricket, you see, so he's immediately the greatest ever Geordie. But I've known Rob longer than he's known me, because he used to be a poster on my bedroom wall, see, growing up, and that's a true story. He was doing this like funny turn, and you could see his big chunky thighs, and he's just sticking his tongue out doing a turn. It was glorious. I used to wake up looking at Rob every morning.
There are quite a lot of older shots of Rob which do have the tongue out. You're right. The facial expressions.
It's concentration. Yeah. That's what it is.
Is it?
Well, if you ever see pictures of me bowling, I used to stick my tongue out as well, and I don't know where it came from. Subconsciously, I think I was just channeling my inner Rob Lee.
Oh, you got to love it. Look, we did promise a quick chat about Palace and about the situation. I'm sure, Graeme, you're not immune to this either. If you take a sort of a sample of the fan base now, we were saying before the Sunderland game, there was a sort of growing rift of some disgruntled fans kind of saying perhaps Eddie's time is up. That noise has got louder. The discontent has become quite apparent. There are lots of things now being thrown and laid at Eddie's door. The accusations that range from has no plan B, predictable substitutions, to lost the dressing room, to we've been found out. Perhaps forgetting all that has gone before and all he's delivered for us. But similarly, we can't suggest, because we've been very pro-Eddie for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, but we can't suggest that this growing disquiet is now wrong. People are entitled to their opinions. People show up, they pay their money, they decide with their boos and with their claps, and the boos are starting to ring out. The boos are getting louder. Graeme, what did you think of the game yesterday, and what's your opinion on whether Eddie's the right man and what should happen moving forward?
Right, I'll just start straight off the bat. Eddie Howe is the right man. I absolutely adore that man as a manager. I remember how miserable I've been as a Newcastle fan for 15, 20 years, and the glory of the last 3 or 4 in comparison. So I'm getting out off the bat. I think Eddie Howe is brilliant. Secondly, yesterday's game, I didn't think it was all that bad, mainly because I was driving a car full of my family back from Gatwick to my house. We were 1-0 up when I stopped. It's an electric car. Anyone who's not got an electric car, don't bother. Trying to find a charging station that works on a bank holiday is a nightmare, I tell you that much. So we pulled into Warwick Services on the M40, and I managed to get a spot. And I looked at him, I said, right, we've got 20 minutes charge here, and there were 18 minutes left in the game. We were 1-0 up. Thought, of course, they can't possibly throw away another lead this year. And by the time I'd been to WH Smith's and bought a pack of Sport Mix, the ultimate in sweets, by the way, we were 2-1 down. And I knew we were 2-1 down because as I got back in the car, Wilfred, my son, was sat in the front. He had a face like thunder. He said, Dad, it's happened again. And so, I don't buy into the manager's got to go, no plan B, but I think he's been brilliant. I always think it's always the managers these days who get the blame, and everyone says, sack the manager. But being a sportsman, having been in dressing rooms, the players have got to take the responsibility. You can't just keep throwing away lead after lead after lead. And it's just painful. Yes, we've lost players. Actually, that brings it back to the real reason. With Alexander Isak, I'm blaming him.
Well,
but Swanee, what do you think of our players we signed though?
I think Voldemar is a decent player. I just don't think we're as good with him in as we were with Isak. We were absolutely electric last year. We were playing like the 96 Brigade, the entertainers.
Not that good.
Because we were so fat. He was so good, Alexander Isak. Him leaving Newcastle by being an absolute, well, you know what, how he acted and how his agent acted. It messed 3 clubs up. It messed up Newcastle because we just don't play the same football, and the player you get was never going to replace a man of his quality. It messed up Liverpool because they just didn't suit him, and they looked half the team with him in. And it messed up Forest as well because Elanga was electric at Forest. I saw him a few times because all my mates are tricky trees, and he wanted to come and play with our Alex. Had the two of them together played, Elanga may have been electric. Isak would have been great. We'd have won the Champions League. As it is, all 3 clubs are having miserable seasons in comparison to last year.
And now we almost won the Champions League. Rob said, who do you rate? You say you quite like Big Nick. What about the other signings?
Well, no one set the world on fire, have they? Really? I think it's always the way when you lose your best player, and without doubt, Isak was incredible. No one's gonna. You're full of hope and optimism, and the thing is, with Voldemar at the start, everyone think, "Oh, this is brilliant! Look, he's scoring back heels and flicks and all sorts, and he scored a couple with his head." We didn't have that with Isak, but then you suddenly realise that no matter who you bring in, they're just not as good as Isak going out. So, of all the new players, I mean, having gone back, I wouldn't sign any of them. I'd keep the team as it was, but. I mean, this time last year, I'm not someone who always gets to the end of the year and thinks, oh, you've got to sign new players and be good, because I think our squad is strong. And I think our best 2 players who I've seen time and time again this year are Lewis Hall and Harvey Barnes. I mean, Lewis Hall, that first game against Barcelona, that was like Keith Gillespie against Barcelona back in the day. He was incredible. By the way, hello, Keith. What a legend. Rob Lucky. So, yeah. So no, I'm not spending 300 million on them all again, but bring back.
I told you my opinion is, like, we won the cup a year ago and we've spent £250 million. Are we a better team now?
No,
I think we're a worse team.
But doesn't that
all that money
just to sort of carry the Eddie chat on? And I'm sounding like I'm anti-Eddie. Everyone knows I love Eddie, but I'm in plenty of WhatsApp groups where I'm the only person standing up for Eddie now. And so I'm seeing all the arguments. I'm getting bombarded with the arguments about why his time is up. If he's ultimately the man that's signing the players, which is what he's effectively said in a couple of press conferences ago, isn't it on him then? I know you're blaming Isak, and I don't actually know who that player is, but if he did once play for us, then he clearly is an idiot for leaving. But...
yeah, but no matter who you bring in, that's the thing, no matter who your manager is, and who else you brought in now, you can't. A team that was gelling and looking so good, going forward especially. I mean, they were electric on the break. Even though a couple of games against Liverpool, we're always terrible against Liverpool, but a couple of games when, you know, they were all over us, and then we'd get half a chance, and Isak could just score out of nowhere. All building up to that Carabao Cup final where we absolutely outplayed them, and that was like the greatest day to be a Newcastle fan since Kevin Keegan ranting about, you've got to go to Middlesbrough on Thursday. I would love it, right? It was, no matter who your manager is, if one player behaves like that and leaves in a cloud, no matter who you bring in, and you can't replace him. He was, without a doubt, the best player in Europe last year, in my opinion, and that's completely non-biased. And so... So yeah, I can understand the arguments now saying, "Oh, Plan B, Plan C, this and that." The players that he signed over the years, Isak was a massive part of that team that he built, and if you take him out, whoever you bring him back in, you have to build a new system. Without doubt, we had to play completely new style of football this year. I think with Baltimore rather than Isak, so it's hard.
But Eddie didn't do that though, did he? He won't change his system at all, will he?
Well, maybe not. I mean, don't try and get me in the Eddie. I tell you what, what I don't want. What I don't want is it to go back to the dark days when you have 6 months of frustrating results and then get a new manager in, screaming this and that, and we just turn into Arsenal or Tottenham or Chelsea, just regurgitate new manager, give Jose a go and all stuff like that. I'm like, oh please no.
I said every time we've replaced like a legend manager, Keegan, Robson and now Eddie Howe, we've always got it wrong, the next manager. Always. Yeah. So that's what I'd be really worried about. Us,
me too.
Jumping out of the frying pan into the fire.
So you two are firmly, and I hear exactly why you're saying it, you two are firmly, it's got to be Eddie. It's got to be Eddie for next season. We're all aware that there's going to be a massive overhaul of the squad if all the noises we're hearing from the club are led to be believed. We're likely selling some big players, which could include Toon Army, could include Gordon, could include Tino Livramento, perhaps Osula goes, perhaps Joey Willett goes, and so on. That means there's going to be big money that has to be reinvested. So we're probably looking at buying lots of new players, probably more new bodies through the door than we've seen for quite some time. You both say Eddie's the man to be trusted with the decisions on spending that money.
Yes, I do. I like the football.
On his own, no. Not on his own, no.
I'm saying it. I like the football we play under Eddie. I wouldn't want to get. I mean, the names you just thrown out there to leave, I'd be gutted if Livramento left, and I'd be gutted if Lewis Hall left. I wouldn't be this. I don't know what everyone else thinks, but Anthony Gordon, I wouldn't be that disappointed. I think he's great. He's done good stuff for the club, but I think we played better when Harvey Barnes.
Don't you think we if player wants to leave, we've got to let him go?
Yeah, 100%. If someone doesn't want to be there, but they're still,
we have to let him go.
Yeah, I've got no issue with a player who wants to leave, but still puts it. And I think he still does put in on the field, and he tries his not his nuts off. They all do, but it's a shame that 2 years ago no one would have wanted to leave Newcastle. Yeah. We were that good. We're the club going forward. We're the exciting club in Europe. It's funny how quickly teams start thinking, "Oh, I want to go play for City or play for Arsenal." Surely, come on. Just they remember, get Bruno in there to give him a team talk, crying again. He's the greatest day of my life. Like at Wembley. That's what you need. You need people like that. Get some more Brazilians in.
I think we've sorted it then.
There you go, done.
Right. Yeah. So according to you two, we keep Eddie, we let him reinvest the money, ideally on Brazilians who'll be emotional.
Eddie to stay, and then Rob Lee and John Beresford in charge of getting new players in.
Oh, see, that I agree with.
That would be fun. I mean, let's.
And Swann is a social manager to make everyone happy.
100%, please.
Let's put Rob on the spot then, shall we? Rob, we're giving you 100 million to spend, 200 million to spend. Who are you buying for the team?
Well, okay. Well, that's just a decision I'd have to. I'd have to really think about because it's a lot of money, and I wouldn't want to waste it. And I think people waste money. Any
players out there that you think, do you know what, we could really use them in Newcastle? That we'd realistically get. You can't say a Gatigi from Liverpool.
No, that's the thing. It's whether. I've always said it. I want players that want to be at Newcastle. We had too long when we had players playing for Newcastle who didn't want to be there, and I think we're getting to that stage again where players don't really want to be here anymore, and they're making it quite clear on the field the way they play.
So with that in mind, here's one for you both, and then we're going to talk about Swanee and why he's a Newcastle fan and your wonderful memories with the club. But if I offered you, it seems very likely Tonali's off because of all the noises. He wanted to try and force a move to Arsenal in January and so on and so forth if his agent's led to be believed. However, we know we're going to get something in the region of 100 million for him. That seems to be his asking price if the rumours are there. There's also a Geordie who plays in basically the same position, who we sold for a lot less, but who would be available with that money, who now plays for Forest.
Elliot Anderson, bring him back.
Elliot Anderson.
Yeah, because he'd want
100%.
Again, I don't know because if Tonali doesn't want to, if he doesn't want to leave and he's quite happy where he is, and
keep him.
Yeah, if he starts moaning that he wants to go and and play for Arsenal, or wants to go somewhere else, then get as much money as you can, and then try and get Elliot Anderson back. why not? You know,
I was actually at Forest for the away game when he scored what was his first ever Newcastle goal, and then it was disallowed. VAR.
Disallowed. Yeah.
I was stood next to his mum and dad. I was next to Nick Pope's mum and dad because they go to all the games, and I always get my tickets through Bez. Basically, I've let the cat out of the bag here.
That's outrageous.
Yeah,
He never gives me any tickets.
But Bez being the nicest human being in the world, he goes and basically befriends all the players and says, "Anyone got spare tickets for this? I've got this mate. You know, he's at death's door, I think, and there's me. I have to get." but I always end up next to Nick Pope's mum and dad. Lovely people, by the way. And then Elliot Anderson's mum and dad with it. And when he scored, the joy on his mum's face, it was like, this is glory. And then the despair it turned to a minute later. And, you know, he is the Geordie Maradona. And when he signed for Forest, and most of the Forest fans, because, you know, they're Forest fans, so they don't really know football. I hope you're all watching. But they do. It is a football city, so they do know their football. But they were looking at me, like phoning me up, saying, "Is he any good? This Anderson, we don't know too much about him." I said, "Seriously, he is immediately your best player. You don't realise how good this bloke is." And after a few games, they were blown away by how good he is.
Well, listen, he'll be a first name on the sheet for England.
Yeah. And he didn't want to leave Newcastle. You could tell that he's a Geordie through and through. I'd get him back in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Do you think he'd come back if he had the choice of coming back to Newcastle for slightly less money or going to Manchester City for ridiculous money? Does he still let his heart rule his decision, or does he go to City?
Well, you know, what I'd say to him in that case is, how much money do you need, mate? I know footballers are completely off the planet and don't realise the real world they live in, but 150 grand a week is still an absolute potload of money. Eddie, 1,000, you know, put 2 million Geordies in a room and see how many are offered 150 grand a week. And if you're going to go, now I can get 200 at City, I don't think he would do that. I think one thing that is brilliant about Newcastle is how patriotic almost, and how much further there is for the club from homegrown talent. So I don't know. I've not met him. My mate sold him a house in Nottingham, so I can try and get hold of him if you want while we're on.
His number then. He's got to have his number.
If I text my mate saying, "Can you ask Anderson if he's going back to Newcastle, please?" I think I'll have a hit squad around here in no time with all tricky truths. What are you talking about, me? He's our best player.
I think most Geordies want to be a legend at their club, don't they? They'll always come back.
Yeah.
Ask Big Al.
Can you send that text, please? Great. Yeah. Can you send?
I'll do it now. I'll send him saying. So my mate's called James. So James, get Anderson back to Newcastle.
That would be, if we could start the campaign here. That I would love that, because then a midfield of him, Bruno, and Miley would be brilliant, in my opinion.
Well, it's just an opinion.
But Rob's always telling me I don't know anything about football. So let's talk about you, Graeme, because I think we've covered Palace and Eddie, and we now know what you guys think, and so I appreciate that. Graeme, you don't sound like a Geordie, neither do Rob nor I. So what made you?
But I don't say Newcastle like Rob. I'll play for Newcastle.
You're from Northampton.
Glorious.
It's true, he does.
How was? I just want to know let him tell the story of how he was a Newcastle fan.
Okay.
Yeah. So as a little kid, I was born in Northampton, right? But my dad's a Geordie. My dad's from Blythe. Before Dan Burn was from Blythe, Raymond Swann, he's from Blythe, and he met my mum at college, and they're both teachers at Loughborough, and they got these jobs. The only place they could get a job was Northampton. And 2 weeks before, apparently, my dad was a good cricketer. He was driving to play against Northampton second, drove through Northampton and goes, "Whoa, what a shithole this is. I hope I never have to live here." and Sod's Law would dictate that the only place he could get a job when he left college was Northampton. Anyway, so as a little kid, Northampton is not a football town. In fact, the only football I ever saw in Northampton was the county cricket juniors, when I was at about 11, used to train at Northampton ground, and the football ground was joined to the cricket ground for football aficionados. You remember that? Before Sixfields, there was the county ground at Wantage Road. My training finished early, and it was 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock on a Saturday, so I ran over to watch the second half, and Graham Carr was the manager. of Newcastle at the time,
Carr.
of
Graham
Northampton
Carr, isn't
Town.
Yeah.
our ex-scouts and
Yeah.
Alan Carr's dad.
That's
Yeah.
him.
Alan Carr, my dad is the manager of Northampton. That's right. Anyway, so I ran over with all my little mates. We were all in our whites and just had like a coat on, and used to stand on milk boxes and watch the second half. And Northampton must have lost to, I don't know, big game against Portsmouth or Peterborough maybe. Anyway, and everyone ran on to get autographs at the end of the game because it was Division 2. You could do that. And the only person I saw without anyone running was Graeme Carr. So I ran up and I went, "Can I have your autograph, please?" And I won't say all the words he said in reply, but it wasn't a positive answer. It was like, "Please disappear, you little runt." It rhymed with that anyway. So what I'm saying is Northampton wasn't a football town. Everyone played rugby. But my dad being a Geordie, he loved Newcastle. But before that, I was about 4 or 5 years old, and I just saw this game of football on the telly, and I liked the blue team we were playing, and my brother liked the red team. It was Everton-Liverpool FA Cup final. This is 85, I reckon. So I'm 5 years old. You don't know any better, do you? And so for Christmas that year, we were asked what we want for Christmas, and I said, I want an Everton shirt. My brother wanted a Liverpool shirt. So I had the little Everton shirt with NEC on it, and my brother had the Crown Paints Liverpool one. And I remember sitting there on Boxing Day in Northampton. We didn't have much money. That was the only present we got for Christmas, these football kits. And my granddad, Wilfred, came down from Blythe with Gran on Boxing Day because the roads are less busy on Boxing Day. and he walks in the door. I still remember his face, bless. He's not been with us for 35 years. But he opened the door and he just looked at us and went, to me, Dad, he went, "Raymond, what the hell is that?" And my dad said, "How are they, Dad? They're only young, man. They don't know any better." And he went, "No, take them off, boys, on your feet. Take them off." So we had to take our kit off and hand them to Grandad. He went, "Boys in this family support Newcastle United. Girls can do what they like. Boys support Newcastle." And that was it.
Yeah.
So from that moment on, I think we were, I don't know, probably the old Division 2 in risk of going to Division 3 at the time. We were not a very good side anyway. But that was it. I was then a Newcastle fan. I was told I'd get my black and white strip within a couple of weeks, and I got like a knitted jumper with one arm shorter than the other, with an itch like hell.
Brilliant.
It was brilliant. I think actually that kit was what inspired the barcode kit because my gran wasn't very good at knitting, so the lines weren't equal thickness by accident. I think someone saw me and my brother in the Leazer's end one day, so that's our new kit for next year. Look at those two lads. Look, absolutely class. And that was it.
That's amazing.
Go Newcastle fan.
Your granddad is brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean, the easy answer was, well, it was in my family, but I love that we got a long version. And
Rob will tell you, I do like to talk.
There's no short versions.
I love that he took your Everton kit away. That was, I mean, was it immediately confiscated, never got given back to you?
Never got it back. They were just taken.
Brilliant.
I think my brother's a couple of years older than me, so I think quietly he was a bit devastated because he'd already told all his mates that he was a Liverpool fan, and then got a backtrack at lower school. But to be honest, in Northampton, everyone supported, at the time, it was before Man United won the league, so no one supported them. But when I was at secondary school, and because my dad was a teacher at the school and he was hard as nails, my old man, no one questioned me and my brother. We're the only Newcastle fans in a school of 1,500, like all Man United fans, and then Blackburn fans for 1 year, and then, absolute bells. But, I mean, some of my best mates, but there we go.
I love that. So I was going to start with asking you how come cricket over football, but I think that's already clear. Your dad was obviously a great cricketer, and where you
haven't seen him play football, have you?
I haven't seen.
No. Well, actually, I have one of the most natural left foots ever seen on a Northampton-born scrum half. No, I actually. So my old man was a very good footballer. He used to play up front. He knew all the tricks of the trade. He told me the greatest way to win any header when I was a kid. That nerve that you've got just in your neck. He said, never use your elbows, son. The referee sees that. Just as the corner's coming over, you put your hand on the shoulder and just squeeze that nerve. They fall like a sack of shit. Free header. He was a very good centre forward, my dad. And my granddad, Wilf, who I talked about earlier, he played for Blythe Spartans as well back in the day. He was a very fine footballer. But But me and my brother, we just follow my dad, who was a cricket player as well, and we follow that. I'm actually not bad at football. I'm just nowhere near quick enough to play any sort of standard. So a bit like Rob.
I knew that was coming.
You've been waiting for things.
Yeah, I've been waiting for that.
Yeah, he's on.
Maybe his third favourite player ever.
Well, the thing is, if Rob was just a bit quicker, he'd have got away from Scholesy that time, or Nicky, whoever it was who hacked him down.
Solskjaer, yeah.
Solskjaer, there it was.
He was quick. He was.
He was rapid, wasn't he? You know that they put that back on the TV the other day. That still hurts watching that.
No.
Still hurts. Oh. The one person who's not missing that is Rob Lee as well.
Yeah, exactly. Don't miss those.
Do you watch that often, Rob? Do you like if a Newcastle game that you played on is on the telly, like Graeme said, they regularly are. Will you watch it, or is it too painful?
Yeah, most of the time I watch them. Yeah, I mean, I watched Liverpool 4-3 when we're 3-2 up. So I'm quite and I'll turn it off after that. Yeah, 10 minutes.
Yeah, great game.
Turn that one off. Turn that one off. But, I like watching them every now and again. See with the team who was playing and who against. And
when you're watching, right, are you only watching yourself, or do you watch the whole? Like, are you watching?
The trouble is with our team, it's never. I have to pick myself out because it's obviously Alan Shearer, Tino Spria, Ginola.
They're getting the close-ups.
Keith Gillespie, we're scoring all these goals. Yeah, I know. Yeah,
you're just in the background.
Every time I see, when we get to play against Man United 5-0, I see Philippe Albert. I passed it to Philippe Albert. I would have got an assist these days.
It was a good pass as well.
A great pass, right into his path.
I know.
He takes it forward, he chips Schmeichel. Yeah.
Actually, you're going on about that game. That was on not long ago, one rainy evening. I have to stay up all night watching cricket a lot of the time. And I get bored with cricket, everyone does. And I always flip that. And Newcastle 5-0 was on. If you've not seen it for a while, it's worth going back to watch just how well Newcastle actually played. Because everyone always says, like, oh, football's better these days. Everyone's better. Everyone thinks that sport just keeps getting exponentially better year on year. It doesn't. It really doesn't. That team back then would win this league. And I'm putting my mortgage on that because no one can prove me wrong.
See, I keep telling them that. It's much harder when we play.
Mate, it's not like I've ever disagreed with you.
Well, I don't know. Some of us off air, you disagree with me.
Well,
not only were you as good a team going forward, but the physical side of it as well meant that, these days, you should never lose the ball. As soon as you're going to lose the ball, you just put your leg in front of someone, roll around for 5 seconds, you get a free kick. Some of the challenges going in, and that wasn't a particularly dirty game, was it? But even then, you watch and go, Christ almighty.
Yeah. And the pitches like they're like carpets now. It's just, you know what I mean? It wasn't in our day, so
one of the main things that Rob says, one of his main arguments, which I agree with, is that the football now, the Newcastle of now, and indeed many other Premier League teams of now, don't have that ability, that freedom for the flair players to do their thing. And as a result, the Premier League is fairly devoid of genius flair players that really get us off our feet, that really get us excited and so on. And that would be wonderful if we could change that, wouldn't it? If you could change one thing about it, was stuff we're stuck with, your VAR and your, spurious extra time that ruins games for people and all that kind of stuff. We're stuck with that. That's we can't do anything about that. The way money's changed the game and so on. But we could, couldn't we? We could start some kind of campaign
revolution
for brilliant flair players to be brought back. Like for every team had a great flair player, a number 10 or a flying winger or whatever.
If you look at all the players that remembered at Newcastle, there's 3 of us there 2 years.
Yeah.
Didn't play that many games, by the way, well, let me tell you. But the ones he did, fans remember him. Ginola was there 2 years.
Do you know, the thing with Ginola, who I love to bits, as you know, and I had one of the greatest honours of my life was having a dinner with him a few years ago, before any of this stuff.
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah.
That was years and years before. It was years before AdoptedGeordies was the thing. But I can remember sitting with him, and we were having a bottle of wine or whatever, and I was like, actually, hang on. You didn't score that many goals. No. Like in my head, he'd scored like 50 goals for Newcastle. He scored something like 6 or 7. Yeah, it was like
it didn't matter because he scored that one volley that night. Yeah. And in slow motion, we've just seen on Instagram when it was put in slow motion on TikTok or whatever with classical music. And when that goes in, oh my days. I actually did. When I finished playing cricket, I worked at BT Sport for a while, and we did this like Saturday morning show with Helen Skelton Myler. Hello, Helen. Great girl. And this one week, we were told that David Ginola's on. He's the guest. I was on. I've never been as starstruck in my life.
Yeah.
And halfway through, so you have your earpiece in when you're doing it, and you can hear the director and everything in the background. And she's like, "Coming up after the break, you know, we're like David Ginola." And in my ear, I can just hear this, "Swanee, close your mouth. You're staring at him again." I was like, I was literally sat just across, and he's a good-looking rooster, David Ginola. I mean, I'm not saying he'd turn me, but he'd give me a good push. But I remember just looking at him, going, "That's David Ginola." And anyway, there was this section where there was a woman coming in to do hot rock massage. That was the in thing at the time, if you remember that. Before ice baths, there was hot rock massage. And David Ginola was supposed to get his top off and do it. And he just went, "I will not be doing this." And so I did. But let me just tell you this. David Ginola, I saw him in the green room beforehand, still got a good rig on him. He looked immaculate. The hair was incredible. Me, no, not so much. I played cricket for a living. We're not exactly athletes. Bit sloppy around the edges. Little dog like nipples sticking down. It's horrible. And there's me, because it's David Ginola. I went, "I'll do it, Dave. No problem, mate. This is I mean, put me in front of anyone in the world to speak to. More than happy. Get naked in front of, bottom half, I'm cool with that. Top half, absolute no. But for David Ginola, I've got my nipples out on British TV. There you go. There's
got to try and get a copy of that.
Wow. I'm dead. Well, I mean, obviously that it sounds like one of your formative favourite teams iterations, because obviously we've all watched different iterations of Newcastle. When you've been fans like we have for 40 odd years, you've watched a lot of teams. Some of those teams have been great. Some of them have been god awful, but they've always had a few players that you've liked. Even the crap teams have had one or two players that you've just kind of supported. Alain Saint-Maximin is one that springs to mind. Hatem Ben Arfa. You know, these lovely flair players. But it sounds to me like one of your kind of halcyon days as a supporter is the same as mine. It's the entertainers. It's Rob, it's David, it's Tino, it's Sir Les, it's Peter Beardsley. You know, is that your sort of, is that your go-to when you're telling people why you're a Newcastle fan? Well, let me just talk to you about the entertainers. Let me explain that. Is that what you would default with?
Yeah, I think so. I think what that was like the build-up to that team as well. So if you go from like 92, 93, the year when they won the championship, David Kelly and Andy Cole up front, when they're just banging in goals. That was, I mean, I was then like 12, 13. That was when I really started watching football and understanding what was going on rather than just, you know, liking the noise in the ground. And so that was magic. And then when they got promoted and David Kelly was sold, I was like, what? You can't sell David Kelly. And then Rob Lee comes in. He's snatched from Middlesbrough's clutches. Come on, go on. And all stuff like this. And the build-up to that team and how you saw it evolving into that team that still devastates me. They didn't win the league, obviously. But I remember walking home I was playing for Toaster Town Juniors. And we just won. I just scored a couple of belts. I was allowed to play up front, just scored these 2 goals. And I ran home because my dad wouldn't pick me up because Newcastle were on the telly. And I ran home afterwards. And I remember we had this bay window in our house and you could see the telly. And I could see Alex Ferguson and he was livid. He was bright red. I thought, get in, Newcastle have won here. And I didn't know it was 5-0. That was the day. And I opened the door, just beating them 5-0. And I didn't see the game live. My dad had taped it, I think, on VHS or whatever. Good old video. So you imagine that as a kid. So yeah, that's it. I mean, I always joke with Rob that he's my favourite thunder-thighed right midfield. But what a midfield that was when Rob Lee was playing, and when Ginola, and even when Keith Gillespie came in. I know Keith now, and I adore Keith Gillespie. But I mean, his stories are obviously a different level to most people's stories for different reasons. But remember, when you see when you look back in time, when he's got that kit on that looks like a sailboat has lost its main sail. I mean, it's the biggest amount of cotton on somebody's back when he's running. It's billowing out in the wind. He could have won the 100 metres for Northern Ireland, I'm telling you that fella, if he didn't have a sail.
He was rapid. But it's another one. Like, by his own admission, he had no skill. But what he did have, it was pace. And so he used to push it past it. Yeah. How many times now in the Premier League do we see somebody push it past someone and run? And it just doesn't. Fans love that. They love the chase of that. He was a great player, Keith. He could have been a lot better, but apart from his off-field activities.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah, so that whole era, that whole mid-90s era, and It was the glory days, wasn't it? And I was speaking. I've just been away actually, and the lad I'm speaking to is another adopted Geordie. Yeah, again, working, Rob, working, never stop. And we were just talking about that whole era. That it is mind blowing to think that that's 30 years ago. 30 years ago, and it doesn't seem like that. I mean, when you look at how many lean years there've been, and I'm not saying lean without a trophy, because obviously, when you celebrate the Carabao Cup like a World Cup, that shows how lean even I'll say this, how anyone can think the FA Cup is harder to win than the Carabao Cup, that's nonsense these days. When you got to beat Arsenal twice in the semis and all sorts to win, that's a proper cup. So now, but yeah, look back, we had so many bad teams and so many. I won't ever go at the players, because to be a professional sportsman, I know it's really hard work and people devote their lives to it. But we had some crap teams, didn't we, in the early 90s, in the early 2000s. So you see the replays now and you go, how did we end up with that? How did we go from 96 to 2006? Oh my days. So yeah, late 90s.
Well, we also had a fairly hefty chapter where a sports shop owner owned the club.
No, it didn't. I've chosen to believe that never happened.
Yeah, but that was a horrible part in our history.
Yeah.
And it's actually think about it, it's only 5 years ago that ended. You think of what we've done in that time. But I remember saying to Rob, I had a time, I don't know, the middle of the Steve Bruce era, where the football we were playing was so abysmal and so lackluster and so depressing that I actually thought that I was being a really, really bad dad by telling my boys that they were Newcastle fans and that there was no other choice, because I was then making them watch utter soulless dross, which was so appalling. And so
like that. I'm the team are that bad. They've made me a bad father. That's how bad my was.
I remember having a conversation with my wife, just going, am I the
bad guy? Am I the enemy?
Should I give them another option? I mean, it goes against everything I can think of, but should I give them the option? And she's like, obviously. She's like, well, I know how much it means to you, but
bad.
I'll say this. I think you're a good dad for sticking with it. My brother, I'm calling out my brother here. Legend. I love my brother to bits. But he has somehow allowed his one and only son, he's got a daughter and a son. Little Anna, she's not really a football fan. But Sam does not support Newcastle. He's somehow
outrageous.
My brother has somehow allowed his son to support Tottenham Hotspur.
That's well, you can laugh at that at the moment.
Yeah.
I mean, Schadenfreude is going on at the minute. But Sam, if you every time, and I mean, it makes me a bad uncle. It does make you a bad uncle when you're actively celebrating, your nephew's misery at the moment. But I do take every time because we've got a cracking record against Spurs in the last few years.
Oh, great record.
We do.
But every time we play him, the second that final whistle goes, I send him a message. Not too late, Sam. I can send you a black and white shirt. It's not too late.
You should just send him if they go down. And I still don't think that's a done deal, by the way.
Oh my God, no! It's as sure as Donald Trump is orange, Tottenham are going down.
In trouble. They're in serious.
You both think they're dead? They're dead. They're done.
Yeah.
That 3-0 against Forest 2 weeks ago has saved Forest and has condemned Tottenham. I'm pretty sure.
No, you're probably right, but I think there is enough time. They've got a new man who I rate De Zerbi quite highly. I rate him highly. He's a good manager.
His record of coming in and having an impact immediately is not good.
He's not Who was it that used to be the Red Adair? Who was
Sam
it?
Allardyce.
It was
Sam
Allardyce. Gordon Strachan. Big Ron.
Gordon Strachan. Big Ron. It was Big Ron. He was the one, wasn't he? He was the one that you'd call in, the firefighter they'd call him. Yeah, Big Ron. They need a Ron Atkinson.
Yeah, but what about where Big Ron sat? What about when Big Ron sat in the wrong dugout at Forest? That was magic.
That was.
He's my manager I would like to play for, Ron Atkinson.
He would have been a lot of fun.
I think it'd have been really good.
Yeah.
I tell you one bloke I think is a very good manager, and I'm not saying we want him at Newcastle forever, but that's Frank Lampard. He got so much abuse when he started managing. But I was driving through Coventry yesterday on my way back after Warwick services, and it made me think about Frank. And I'm only bringing him up because I played cricket against Frank Lampard. Did you know that, Rob? When I was 11. And I didn't know that. I did a sports quiz with a TV show. And I sat there and I introduced myself and really pleased to meet you, mate. Big fan of yours. He went, I know you already. You caught me out for Northampton under-11s against Essex under-11s at Chigwell School. So Frank Lampard, because he played cricket, gets my big nod of approval. And I think he's doing a cracking job.
He was a decent cricketer, wasn't he, Frank?
Yeah. Played for Essex School. Essex were good. You know, down your neck of the woods growing up, down London way, down south. There's some good cricketers down there, Rob. Oh, good. Oh, Gucci.
So talk us through some of your favourite non-entertainer players, because it's very clear that you and I are aligned that Peter Beardsley's a god, and so on and so forth. But who have you enjoyed watching? What kind of obscure Newcastle players do you just have a soft spot for? A streets won't forget type experience with you?
Papi Cisse. Love Papi Cisse. I loved it.
He got some goals.
I thought, he was just magic, and his celebrations and everything. So I love Papi Cisse. And going back to, I've got to say Peter Beardsley. I'll quickly tell my Peter Beardsley story while I'm here. Rob warned you about this, didn't he? So Paul Collingwood, Peter Beardsley, hey, how you going? Paul Collingwood. During his benefit, Paul Collingwood's a Mackham, obviously, and he had this after his while he was playing for England. Sorry, he had a benefit year, and he put on a game of cricket at the Riverside in Durham, but it was Newcastle against Sunderland. So he was captain of the Sunderland team. He made me the Newcastle manager, the Newcastle captain. Sorry, and the two managers he got for the day were Kevin Keegan and Peter Reid. Can you imagine that? Wow. So I'm taking the family at Wilfred, my little Wilf at the time, was only 4 years old. And we're driving up from Nottingham to Newcastle, 2.5 hours. I got my foot down because I was excited. But every half hour, I'd turn around and go, Wilf, you're meeting Kevin Keegan today, like the ultimate Newcastle hero, the legend, King Kev. And so when we meet him, I'll ask you, who's your favourite Newcastle legend? And what do you say? He goes, King Kev. Brilliant. Every half hour, Wilf, who's your favourite Newcastle legend? King Kev. Perfect. We get to Riverside Ground, we're getting changed, we've got the black and white kit, it's brilliant. Kevin Keegan walks in the change room, and I'm like, and he comes straight over and gets Graeme Swann, pleased to meet you, I'm a massive fan. I went, Kev, honestly, I can't go on, but I need you to meet my son. This is Wilf. And he looked and goes, hello, young man, who's your favourite Newcastle legend? And Wilf stood up and went, Peter Beardsley. Oh my God!
Player, to be fair.
Oh, I know. Yeah. So anyway, so I digress. But so Peter Beardsley, I absolutely loved. I loved his trickery. I saw him score a goal for England against Poland, when they won 2-0. When he nicked him from their sideline and powered it in when the keeper was expecting a cross. I don't know if you remember it. It was a cold night. Mr. Tyrrell wouldn't let me get chips at Wembley. That's all I remember. Peter Beardsley scored. Yeah, the Papi Cisse. I like all those guys who just had a bit of flair. But I also love Kevin Nolan.
Nice.
Yeah,
and you know why.
Scored a lot of goals.
Great captain.
Good goal scorer.
And you know why. He scored a lot of goals, 3 especially.
Yeah. Yeah. Gotta love that. I actually hated that celebration, and yet I loved seeing it. Do you know what I mean?
Robbie Elliot did that first.
Did he?
Robbie Elliot did the chicken celebration first. You look back through your videos. Robbie Elliot did the old.
Robbie Elliot used to have a thing in the programme where he did a cooking section. Do you remember that?
Did he?
Yeah, there was like. Do you remember that in the programme?
Lasagna with Robbie.
It was. Yeah, I'm sure there was. I'm sure my brain isn't going that mad. There was like a cooking feature with Robbie Elliot, which
tempura and prawns with Rob Elliot.
It's like, why is that? Like, my little brain couldn't understand why Robbie Elliot did a cooking thing.
Maybe that started in Paul Gascoigne doing like kebabs with Gaza, some stuff like that. Oh, I tell you what I missed out as well, because they never get a shout out. But goalkeepers. I love some of the Newcastle goalkeepers I've had over the years. Pavel Cernicek. I love Pavel Cernicek. And Shaka Hislop. Shaka Hislop's terrible, sort of, it looked like a Top of the Pops cover. Is keeping top.
The top was amazing. I'd like
and then I had a big soft spot for Shay Given for a long time as well. I like Shay. And he's the only one worth his salt on Match of the Day these days as well, Shay. Right, Al.
He does.
You'll be getting a call later.
Clearly, for the benefit of the audience, you obviously know Mr. Shearer as well as Rob, then, do you?
Well, I know through Rob, basically, yeah. So
Is that right? Okay. Okay. I'm guessing the banter level's fairly high between you guys.
yeah, he doesn't take it as well as Rob.
Does he not? Graeme, is it weird for you? Because obviously you like me, these were your heroes. Like I still find it weird that I do this with Rob all the time because, like you, Rob was on my wall.
Yeah.
It does my head in sometimes when I think about it. I consider myself to be incredibly lucky. And
Absolutely.
they say you shouldn't meet your heroes, but actually, some of them, like Rob, step up and prove that you really should because it's an absolute joy. But is it a bit weird for you to think, these guys were my heroes and now I'm kind of taking the mick out of them? Is it just a strange thing?
It is strange, but it's also the greatest thing about playing cricket for England is you get to meet the Newcastle team who are your heroes and as a 15, 16-year-old. No, it is really weird. And so I know Rob really well because we play this golf thing every year. The former international cricketers against former international footballers. We go to the Algarve, and we play golf for 3 days. And a lot of businessmen come and they pay for it. Basically, we get a bit of a jolly. And Rob organised it. Rob and John Morris, who's his big mate from Durham, and they organised this. So it's, I got invited on this probably about 10 years ago now. I've only missed 1 year since I was invited, and that was when I was doing Strictly. That Rob never let me live down. Actually, I got loads of abuse for it. But I couldn't.
As well. I'll tell you what you should do. So obviously the two captains do a little speech and. Basically, Swanee goes out, as you can tell, and he takes the piss out of everyone.
Yeah.
Until it gets to Alan, and he goes, I can't take the piss out of Alan. I can't take the piss out of Alan. And he goes, it's a really good one, but I
can't bring myself to do it.
He never goes full flow at him, honestly.
No, it's almost like you're in church, and Alan's the guy up front with the big prop on. And I can take the mick out of everyone sat next to me, but not the big one, not the big guy.
No, I can't do it.
Does anyone take the piss out of Alan?
Rob.
You're his best man. Right? So
no, I'll tell you who does. I'll tell you who does. Johnny Beresford did it 1 year, and I'm not sure I'll speak to him yet. I'm not sure he's. I think
from that one.
I think Bez is out of the Christmas list for good.
When he put that bald cap on, and
he put a bald cap and a Newcastle shirt, a bald cap, and he ran it. He did a 5-minute skit as if he was Alan Shearer, and it was. I mean, it wasn't a very good impression, but it was an incredible impression at the same time. If you get my drift, it was all for humour. I will say a massive shout out to John Beresford actually, because without Bez, I wouldn't have seen half as many Newcastle games as I have recently. But also for proving that not all footballers are just these stupid bleached blonde idiots who run up and down the wing. Because Bez is sharp as a tack, and he is easily one of the funniest men. I don't know if you've seen the video that I put on Instagram a couple of years ago, and it's why I'm wearing this shirt, by the way. So this is you'll realise this famous shirt is when we banged 8 past Sheffield United. We were wearing this shirt that day, in case you've forgotten.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And I was there with my son. So we went up to meet Bez beforehand. And Bez we're in Sheffield, and Bez is there like, yeah, you're right. How's it going? Oh, I fancy to do him today. I fancy to do him 2-0. And we met beforehand, and we had a couple of beers, and Bez gets revved up. He gets excited. But I was driving home afterwards, so I had a couple, and I said, Wilf, we've got to walk to the ground. So we walked down the Eckersall Road, down to Bramwell Lane. And Bramwell Lane's a brilliant ground. Those people who've not been, like the away end spills immediately into the street. There's no concourse. You're straight out into the right band. And as soon as we got in, there was a great atmosphere. And we lost Bez, and Bez was there with his son. Anyway, Newcastle are 3-0 up at half-time, playing the opposite direction to where we are. And Wilf turned to me and went, I hope they score a few more in the second half down in front of Argyle. I said, I'm sure they will. And as I said that, I saw Bez, who I've not seen for 45 minutes. He's gone from a little bit tipsy to the drunkest Geordie in the world. And he's got this, he was wearing double denim on the day, which only Bez can pull off. It was incredibly bad. But he just came in, and Newcastle started. We scored 5 in the second half, obviously. And Bez is there, and he's starting all the songs. He's not even watching. He's got his back to the ground, and he's starting all these songs. And the fans are loving it. And I got videos of him. It was easily my favourite game that I've ever seen. I've seen some cracking games in person, but that, for their being with my son, 8-0, and Bez starting all the chants. It was glory. It was everything that I loved about Newcastle United was then and there on that day. It was amazing.
I love that. I love that. Were you at Wembley last year?
No, I could only get one ticket, and I could only get one, and I won't watch without Wilf, because it's our thing that we do. We go together.
That's really nice.
And I'll forever regret it as well. But the worst thing I cannot stand watching Newcastle on telly. I get too nervous. Live, love it. But on telly, I'd rather not watch it and then put match of the day on if they've won later on. But
Really? So what, you won't follow it on the radio or anything live? You just
no, radio's different.
can
But
only get
I'm
score
one of these.
updates.
I've got the app now. I walk around just constantly updating the app and reading it. So, but for the final, so I thought I want to watch it, but I can't. I'm too nervous. And if I'm one of these, I think if I watch it, I'll jinx it. So anyway, I said to Will, we're going to play golf, and we'll time it. So when we finish, we walk in the clubhouse. The game will have just finished, and like, whatever will be. I won't check my phone on the way round. And we had 18 holes, and just on the way in, I thought, perfect. Come on, Newcastle. Come on, please, please, please. And as I walked in the door, I heard, and we're underway. I'd got the timings all wrong. And the whole clubhouse was like absolutely round with Liverpool fans. And so I thought, I'll sit at the back. And Wilf couldn't watch it. Wilf sat in the car. He was too nervous. He couldn't watch it.
Yeah.
So I sat there and watched the first half. And obviously, when Big Dan Burn scored that header, I went mad. I jumped out on a screen and I got 49 filthy looks from that clubhouse. And then we drove home at the speed of light to watch the second half, or walk around the house nervously while the second half was not allowed to be played. And my mother-in-law was at the house at the time. Now, my mother-in-law and her family are Mackhams. All right, I'll admit it. I'll come clean.
No.
And anyway, so we're 2-0 up, and me and Wilf are like, I'm now in the kitchen. I've got a cramp in my groin from pacing up and down so much. And I suddenly hear, she says, well, just turn the telly on and watch the end of it then, to her son, to Paul. And I'm like, no, don't you dare. And they turned the telly on, and literally the second the telly was on, Liverpool scored. Oh. And I said things I shouldn't have said, and I'm not sure Wendy's talking to me yet. It's 2 years ago. And like, I may have lost my cool. But then I just, when that final whistle went, the speed that me and Wilf ran up and down our street, it was just with looks of complete bemusement, because we're in Nottingham, we're in West Bridgeford. No one even knew the final was going on there. But oh my God, it was a glorious thing.
That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about.
I love it. I love it. It's amazing to hear that you can't, unless you're at the game, you can't follow it. I can't not. I have to follow the game, whether it's on telly or on the radio or through the app with the membership, with the commentary and whatever else. I have to, whatever else I'm doing, I have to have the game on. I've got to follow it. I can't not. It's all I can think about. When I know the team's kicked off, I have to be following it. I can't not do it.
So the other thing I desperately cannot do is leave a game early. Even if we lose, even if it's already gone. I'm like, I will not be an empty seat. I will not walk out. But a lot of that stems from the fact I went with my dad and brother to watch France v England in the Six Nations years ago at Twickenham. And my dad, being a proper Geordie, is like, right, we beat the traffic, here we go. Nothing will happen. That'll be 2 pence less in petrol, because I'll be able to maintain a steady 56 all the way home. And anyway, so I remember him, and England were winning by like 10 points. We won't miss out. And we walked out. We missed 3 tries. And I remember, Dad, what was the point? We paid so much money, and now we're going to save 12 pence on petrol. Well, I stand by my decision. And I think because of that, I'll never leave a sports game early. My kids aren't allowed to go. Even when Forest beat us 3-1 on Boxing Day a couple of years ago and ruined Christmas, I said to Wilf, we've got to stick it out to the end, mate. I'm sorry, we've got to stick it out to the end.
That was Chris Wood, wasn't it? He undid us.
Well, no, that wasn't Chris Wood. That was Eusebio reincarnated that day.
Oh, dear. Now, we're going to be honest with you, Graeme.
Go on, then.
Rob and I had a bit of a chat about cricket and building up to this conversation with you as well. In fact, this is the third time we've tried to get you on. We've had a couple of missteps and we've managed to make it happen now, which is brilliant. So I've had these notes prepared for ages because Rob and I were like, we're going to have to do some research about cricket and we're going to have to understand it. And I've got all your career highlights. I can talk about all the various different things you've done. And then we had a coffee beforehand and Rob just went, yeah, don't do any of that. don't do any of that.
He prefers talking about Newcastle.
I really do.
So what I have done is I have got a quick fire spin or sin round for you.
Okay.
Which is kind of a fusion of Newcastle and cricket.
Right.
I like it.
So instead of having a detailed chat about your cricketing career, which Rob has now banned me from doing, and I got the notes for it.
Honestly, trust me, I love Rob Lee a little bit more than I did before now.
Yeah. He said avoid the cricket. So what we're going to do is I'm going to ask you these, and these are quick fire. So it's one word or first instinct, whatever feels best.
Okay, yeah.
So we're going to go. I got 3 different editions for you: the Newcastle edition, Cricketing Chaos, and Personality Bits. Okay. So the Newcastle edition is first. Best Newcastle player of the modern era.
Kamara's.
Bruno, yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah,
with
I'd agree. Good
answer. This one, I find this one an interesting one. Alan Shearer or everyone else?
Oh, I've got to go everyone else. I can't just say Alan Shearer after what we said earlier.
Peter Beardsley.
Peter.
If you said Peter Beardsley or everyone else, it'd be Peter Beardsley.
Clearly a lot
no, I've got to go everyone else. I can't put one man before the club.
Yeah, fair enough. European night at St James's or day one of an Ashes test?
Well, I've experienced day one of Ashes tests and they're amazing. So European night, please. That PSG. How good was PSG, by the way? Sorry. Oh my days.
Amazing.
Oh my days.
That was
insane.
Yeah.
Eddie Howe or Nasser Hussain as a leader?
Eddie Howe, 1,000%.
All right. What's the most Newcastle Ashes moment?
That's a great question. I mean, any time when we were winning a game and then cocked it up with the last 20 minutes.
So Crystal Palace.
Yeah, I think for me, the first ever Ashes we won, 2009. That was a similar feeling to when we won the Carabao Cup last year. Genuinely, I can't remember being happier at either moment in my life. So,
I love that. Relegation scrap or batting at number 8 at Brisbane?
I'll bat at number 8 anytime.
Nice.
Yeah, no, honestly, cricket ball. This is the thing. Cricket balls don't actually hurt that much when they hit you. I mean, they give you a whack. You've got like a suit of armor on. It doesn't actually hurt that much. It's just you desperately don't want to get out because then you've cocked up for your team. So it's more the fear factor of getting out. The physical, it doesn't physically hurt you at the time because you've got that much adrenaline pumping through you. It's that night. About 3 hours later, when you're in the hotel room and you get up to go for a wee, and you put your leg down, you just collapse in a heap.
Right, Toon Army or Barmy Army?
Toon Army. Although massive shout out to the Barmy Army.
Fair play. This one, let's go with a current one because Sean Longstaff would be the obvious answer to this, but let's go with a current squad member, Newcastle squad member who'd make a good cricketer.
Lewis Hall would be a cracking batter. He's rapid between the wickets. He's small. All the best batters are little. Sean Longstaff's a decent bowler. He when he got a wicket, he got in trouble with Eddie Howe because he wasn't supposed to be playing in the game.
Yeah.
But the lad he nicked off, like on Sky Sports News, that was Phil Mustard, who I played cricket for England with. That was his son batting. Small world.
Was it?
That's a proper player. Love that. Okay, hardest batter you bowled to?
Jack Callis, both physically and like skill-wise. I think he could batter 100 gorillas.
Blimey, that's a sentence, isn't it? Also happens to be Rob's favourite batter, so you've chosen well. Best sledger you've played with?
Oh, I wouldn't say it was the best.
From yourself.
Yeah, I wouldn't say he's the best, but the one who was just non-stop, sledged his own kids at breakfast, Jimmy Anderson. Oh my God, Jimmy.
Really?
I mean, I adore Jimmy, but my God, he's miserable when he plays. Talk about white line fever. As soon as he gets over the rope, he's like, In fact, he once did an interview for Sky Sports. So until he's had one sip of Foster's lager, he's like the most miserable man. And then he suddenly like turns bulletproof. But He got 5 wickets once for England, and he was interviewed afterwards. And it was still my favourite interview of all time because he was genuinely over the moon. They said, "Jimmy, you must be delighted in that Sky Sports News." And he just went, "Yeah, I've never been happier."
Good lad. Good lad. What's one cricket law that you'd steal for football?
The way of you can't talk back to the umpires. You can't say you can't have a go at the umpire. I detest people arguing with the referees. I mean, the referees are terrible. We know that. We've seen that VAR has to happen because they're incapable of making good decisions, like in the FA Cup this year. Jesus Christ. But I can't stand players surrounding the ref and having to go at him all the time. Oh,
Right. Nice.
In fact, that's more of a steal it from rugby for cricket. You know, the way they talk, "Yes, sir, of course, sir,"
Yeah.
and rugger. But, sir.
Retirement, relief or heartbreak?
Heartbreak. Absolute heartbreak.
Both of you.
Yes, yeah. Heartbreak, yeah.
I didn't want to, but I was injured, and so I couldn't go out. I'm still heartbroken by it now, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was old, so
I'm glad I asked that one. Great. Okay. Drums or spin or off spin?
Off spin.
Okay. Pint after play, yes or no?
Yes. Well, I must admit, while I was playing for England, I was very wary of the weight, so it was more of a glass of Sauvignon Blanc.
Who's more dramatic, cricket fans or football fans?
Football fans. But that's what makes football amazing. No football fan agrees. I don't know, Fulham maybe, like live like this. But you've got to be up and down, haven't you? You've got to be up and down. Actually, that was a bit harsh on Fulham because they can be quite vitriolic. Brentford. I've never met a Brentford fan who I wouldn't happily go for a Sunday afternoon lunch with on the river.
It's a lovely little ground, isn't it, Brentford?
Yeah. Do they have a firm,
17,000.
Brentford? I don't know. I've not seen them in the train stations.
no.
There's a local pub that's quite full of them, which is but it's very friendly. It's a nice
Yeah.
kind of.
I can imagine Brentford's got a crash
It's super.
with an outstanding Ofsted recommendation.
They've got a very good way of getting pints and kind of pies and all the rest of it. It's all quite neat. It's
Just let's wait till Millwall get in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, do you think they'll get up?
Which is a
Millwall-
possibility, by the way.
And Millwall, am I not the only one who really loves that? I'd really like to see him up. There's something about Millwall because everyone just thinks they're full of like football hooligans and they remember the 80s and everything. There's something about Millwall. They're like a proper London club, if that makes sense. Like,
I'd love to get out.
imagine getting up and getting on the train to go down to London knowing you're facing Millwall today. That'd get the nerves. That'd be like batting at Brisbane. Come on then.
Right, one word to describe Newcastle supporters.
Mint.
Love that. Have you ever worn a Newcastle shirt underneath your cricket whites?
No, I've not. But I always go to a game. I've got a Bobby Robson sweatshirt that just says Sir Bobby on it. And then I always have my colours underneath. And then I walk back, especially in Nottingham, when I walk back in amongst the tricky trees, I always make sure the little bit's just flicking out of the back. Just, live on the edge.
And my final quick fire for you is if Newcastle winning the Premier League was a cricket moment, what would it be?
2005 when England won the Ashes after 25 years. I wasn't playing, but that was like, it seemed impossible. Looked like we'd never ever win it again because Australia was so good. And then Michael Vaughan's England won. I reckon that would be like Newcastle winning the Premier. I think we'll do it. I think we'll do it within the next 10 years once this ridiculous FFP packs its bags and goes.
Exactly.
But until then, I hope we don't have any lean years before that.
Well, what's your let's go back to the current iteration of Newcastle right now and what we've heard from David Hopkinson recently. They've trotted out a few times now. David Hopkinson in particular has said this a couple of times now, one of the biggest clubs in the world by 2030, which is only 4 years away. He's talking about massively bumping the revenue into the club and being competitive on across every level. What do you think when you hear that, Swanee? What's your take as a fan and then as a sports person?
When I hear that, I just hear that someone wants to make a lot of money and wants to make them richer and richer, which I don't think it's all about. Look, Man City have got more money and they've got more titles, but there's no passion there anymore, is it? Main Road used to be bouncing. That used to be like incredible place, and now it's like a cathedral. There's no atmosphere or anything. I don't want them to turn into that. I wouldn't mind the trophies, obviously, but I hope that in 10 years we are one of the biggest clubs in the world, but because of the football team, because of the players, and we're playing amazing football and we're winning things and everyone wants to play for us, and we're not just a club that you go to for 2 years to then go to Madrid. That's what I hope.
Great answer. Perfect answer.
We'll have that.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. So just to conclude, you've loved us for a long time. You still believe in Eddie, and you reckon in 10 years' time we're going to be the biggest club on the planet.
Yeah. All thanks to Rob Lee and John Beresford's recruitment policy.
Correct.
I'm here for it. Graeme, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. I've laughed so much. It's been
always
a joy
do when
having
he's
you
around,
on.
I told you.
And I feel
Nice
like you've reenacted many of the players as well. The number of accents that you've pulled up.
Yeah.
He ain't done his Keith Gillespie, yeah, that's right.
Oh, that's true. We haven't heard Keith Gillespie.
What a boy, true. No, there was this one night we were playing Sheffield United, right? I had 10 grand on a scoring first, but I didn't. It was terrible. Oh, Keith, what a legend Keith Gillespie is.
I love it. You've got a Rob Lee as well, haven't you?
Newcastle, I'll play for Newcastle.
Go on, get off, Swanee.
No, see you boys there. Thanks for having me on.
Amazing.
Appreciate it.
Top man.
So much. It's been an absolute pleasure. Absolutely loved talking to Graeme Swann there. What a brilliant guest. I hope you enjoyed that as much as Rob and I clearly did having him on. I think we might have to get him back again soon because he was just clearly got so many stories. Listen, also just a quick thank you to all of you that have been doing what we've been asking, which is getting involved in the show, whether you've been leaving comments on YouTube or Spotify or on Instagram or TikTok or wherever you've been doing it. We've seen them. I've even learned how to reply to some of the messages on YouTube, could you believe? And you've been getting involved on Instagram.
I've been getting involved in it, yeah.
So we're having a great time with it. We really do appreciate all the feedback, whether it's you agree with what we've been saying or whether you've got a difference of opinion. We all support the same club, so we're all basically pulling in the same direction, and any opinion is valid so long as you're not accusing Rob of something truly horrendous. We will be back again, same time, same place next week, so thank you for your company. Away the lads.
But it feels like a lifetime ago that I said if Eddie lost the second leg against Barca and then lost against Sunderland, it would be time for discussion. And it was a lifetime ago that Eddie said that the Barcelona second leg was the biggest game in the club's history. Well, I think that Crystal Palace game was the biggest in Eddie Howe's career, and it just didn't even look like the players turned up. I mean, he said in his post-match interview that we controlled the first half, but if I was watching the same game, Aaron Ramsdale very much kept us in that game. And the rest of the team looked like didn't even try. Yes, the penalty was soft, but I mean, where do we go from here? If we lose the next few, I mean, Europe's pretty much definitely not happening. And if we lose the next few, we're not going to get dragged into a relegation position, but how much was spent in the summer? I still think he deserves one more season as a head coach, not as a manager. Obviously, that tweak in recruitment needs to be done. I think we need a big clear out of some of our previous heroes as well. Get some young, fresh faces in who want it more to replace them. I think a lot of this, dare I say, a lot of this squad and a lot of this team are dining out on last year's cup success. And we need a quick reset if we want to achieve this ambition to be one of the greats by 2030.